This was a topsy-turvy race. In typical Pocono fashion, it was all about strategy, but sometimes in racing, the wrong strategy can still get you the win. Welcome everyone back to episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. My name is Jett. Hope you're having a wonderful day. NASCAR at Pocono just wrapped up and it was a very exciting race. A lot of different strategies, a lot of things to talk about. So let's not waste any time and jump right into it. We're going to start off, of course, with Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe, those final 30 laps, he did an unbelievable job with having the issues of making sure that that car had enough fuel to make it to the end while he had his teammate, not just his teammate, but the best ever at Pocono Raceway in Denny Hamlin on his tail, and the defending winner of Pocono, Ryan Blaney, right behind Hamlin, chasing Briscoe down, but he was able to hold off all charges, keep calm under pressure to take home his first ever win for Joe Gibbs Racing, his third career cup win, snapping a 26 race winless streak dating back to the Southern 500, and becomes the 11th different race winner of 2025, leading the most laps, and is now officially part of the NASCAR playoffs for 2025. Here's a look at the race results. So right behind Briscoe, Hamlin, and Blaney, you got Chris Buescher. Very, very key race for Buescher in that 17 team as they're fighting to stay in the playoffs. With Chase Elliott, a quiet 5th place run for him. How about this? 6th place, John Hunter Nemechek, Legacy Motor Club. We're going to talk about them in a little bit. They have been improving a lot in recent weeks. Kyle Larson, a quiet day for him in 7th. And then 3-4s to round out the top 10. Ryan Preece, teammate and owner Brad Keselowski. We got a lot to talk about with that 6 car. And Austin Cindric in the 2 rounds out the top 10. 11th is Alex Bowman. 12th is Josh Berry. Showed some good pace earlier in this race. Was up front for a good amount of time. 13th, Eric Jones, Ty Gibbs, and Daniel Suarez rounds out the top 15, with Joe Logano. Christopher Bell rebounding after he had a crash earlier in the race in 17th with that damaged splitter. 18th is Carson Hocevar. He nearly lost it very early in the race, coming off of turn 3 onto the front stretch. Nearly lost the car, was able to save it with help from the wall and keep it going, but finished in the 18th position. Justin Haley 19th, and Kyle Busch in 20th. Now, Kyle Busch finishing in 20th is a surprise considering the fact that he was involved in an accident in this race. In a tunnel turn in turn 2, got loose underneath Zane Smith, spun, collected Ty Dillon, collected Christopher Bell, and Shane Van Gisbergen in the process. So the fact that he was able to kind of rebound for a top 20 finish is somewhat surprising. AJ Allmendinger finishes in 21st. Cole Custer, Noah Gragson, Austin Dillon, and Zane Smith the top 25, and some other notables. Chastain in 26th. William Byron 27th. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in 30th. Shane Van Gisbergen 31st. Tyler Reddick 32nd. Ty Dillon 33rd. And then Michael McDowell, Bubba Wallace, and Riley Herbst rounds out the 37 car field. Here's a look at the playoff grid with 9 races to go in the regular season. So, like I said, Briscoe becomes the 11th different race winner of 2025. That moves up the cutoff line just a little bit. Elliott and Reddick still relatively safe, although Reddick, he lost a lot of points in this race today. Elliott plus 160, Reddick now at 107. Buescher at plus 38. Bubba Wallace with his penultimate place finish, now 29 points above the cut line. Alex Bowman holds the final spot at the moment, 20 points ahead of Ryan Preece. AJ Allmendinger 18th, minus 59. Eric Jones with his top 15 finish gained some much needed ground in the cutoff line, now minus 62 in the 19th position. Kyle Busch remains in 20th, minus 63. All right, so let's go over some drivers. And a quick note about Ryan Blaney. My pick to win this race, he didn't have the best car, but that's only because you didn't really see him out in front. He had to go to the back twice. He had to start at the back at the tail of the field after changing a starter, drove his way up to the front, then had a speeding penalty, start at the back, and had to drive his way up to the front again. On top of that, his cool suit also failed, so he was also dealing with having a much harsher time driving the race cars. So him getting a 3rd place finish, all right, for what he had to went through, I'll take that. I was hoping, I was like, he's so close to getting that win, but I'll take a 3rd place run. Let's go over some drivers. Let's first talk about with Chase Briscoe. Led the most laps, did some very difficult things, having to hold off in those 30 laps. Denny Hamlin, 7-time winner at Pocono, the best at that racetrack, while you're having to save fuel, is an incredible task to achieve, and he did everything right. Now, the reason why did he have to save fuel in the first place? Well, him and that 19 team kind of, let's be honest, they kind of fucked themselves over during that last pit stop cycle. On lap 120, so with around 40 laps to go, Chase Briscoe and the other drivers like Kyle Larson, Ryan Preece, and so on, they all pitted, but everyone else had about a 13-14 second pit stop. Chase Briscoe was done in 11 seconds, and that was very unusual. Yeah, you could be maybe half a second faster, but 2.5, 3 seconds faster? No, something went wrong. And it did. Basically, once that jack on the left side went down, Briscoe took off. And you could tell that that was not part of the plan because the fueler was still trying to chase the car with him. He was still trying to go with Chase Briscoe, indicating that, hey, listen, I don't got it. You don't have enough fuel. You do not have enough gas to make it. James Small just said it best. He said, we're fucked. Simply said it. Like we cannot make it on fuel. So I thought, everyone else thought, oh, well, Briscoe is screwed. What saved him was a caution about 6 or 7 laps later when Shane Van Gisbergen spun by himself coming off of turn number 1 and then brought out the caution. That helped Briscoe because he was able to save fuel. Kind of screwed Brad Keselowski. We're going to discuss him in a little bit, but that saved him. If that did not happen, no way in hell Briscoe would have made it on fuel. It was just impossible. But again, he did everything perfectly. And when you take a look at this 19 team, how they've fared out this 2025 season, they have brought in a lot of speed. They've shown up as of recent weeks, especially as the summer has come around for NASCAR. They have been showing up to the racetrack with a ton of speed. They just haven't been able to execute. Really, the only time they executed was Homestead. Other than that, they showed up with great speed, but weren't able to capitalize. This was the first time since Homestead they were able to not only start up front, but stay up front. Led the most laps, won stage 2, and ultimately put themselves in position to not only have a shot at the win, but end up taking the checker flag despite their fuel issues. Second was Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin, despite his 1 week break, came back full force, winning the pole, winning stage 1, but ultimately did not have what it took to contend with Chase Briscoe. It was interesting though in those final 30 laps. I don't know if it was a combination of Briscoe having that clean air, if maybe Hamlin used up his stuff. I don't know what it was because Hamlin and Blaney had fresher tires. So when you think about all of that, at least on paper, you would think that, oh, Hamlin's just going to blow right by Briscoe. But again, I don't know if it was maybe Hamlin used up his stuff. Well, Briscoe did say on the radio that after he was told to let off the gas more to conserve more fuel, his car actually drove better. So maybe that helped him. I don't know what it was, but it was weird to see Briscoe be able to hold off Hamlin despite his fuel issues and not having as fresher tires as both Hamlin and Blaney. But still, regardless, Hamlin picked up right where he left off despite the 1 week break. Came out full force and nearly went technically back to back because he didn't race in Mexico, but he did win at Michigan the week prior, so he almost went back-to-back in a sense. But still, it was an excellent performance by Joe Gibbs Racing. 1-2 finish, now having their 17th career win at Pocono, which is 1 win away from the most amount of wins that team has had at a single racetrack, which is Richmond. They got 18. Let's talk about some other drivers. Let's talk about a couple teams. Legacy Motor Club. I don't know, that 2025, when Jimmy Johnson became the majority owner, basically, they made a whole bunch of changes in terms of personnel to improve their performance. Last year was horrendous, but this year they have shown a lot more speed, and especially in recent weeks, as the summer month has come around, they have shown up with a lot more speed with both drivers, but specifically John Nemechek, 6th place. Once again, we've seen that 42 car either running up front in the top 10 or around the top 10. They started tremendous by qualifying 4th for this race. Eric Jones had some moments. He did come on strong a little bit later on in the race, but finished in 13th. Now back inside the top 20. The 42 and the 43, that team has been showing up with a lot more speed as of late. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. They're not going to make the playoffs, but it is a good thing to look at in terms of the future of that team as they head into 2026, 2027, and so on, knowing that they are improving. However, on the other side of the spectrum, you got 2311 Racing. While Legacy Motor Club definitely improved, 2311 regressed heavily this weekend. All 3 drivers finished 30th or worse. 32nd for Reddick, 36th for Wallace, and 37th for Herbs. It all started on lap 42 when Riley Herbs, I thought at first maybe he blew a tire, but no, he broke a right front brake rotor, entered turn number 1, bam, slammed the wall hard. Then about 13 or so laps later, Bubba Wallace, who was running around the mid-20s, did not have a good day. He started at the back, even though he was fast in practice, started at the back due to him not posting a qualifying time, with him not having a starter, or his car not starting, I should say. Slowly made his way up to the front, but entering a tunnel turn, the same part of the car, right front brake rotor, boom, explodes, bam, slams the wall hard. This time, luckily for him, it was much lower speeds and wasn't as violent as his crash back in 2018 was, but that took the 35 and the 23 out of the race. Of course, That sends a lot of alarms to the 45 pit of Tyler Reddick. They let him know about, hey, maybe try some different things out. A little bit later in the race, they told him to shut off the car so that they could have his brakes cool down. Apparently did not have an effect, because then later on we would see Tyler Reddick go to the garage and the team look at that right front brake rotor that also had the issues for the 23 and the 35. They looked under that to see what was wrong. I don't know if there was actually anything wrong with it, or I don't know exactly what the issue was, but he was behind the wall for a couple laps and he ended up in the 32nd position. So it was an awful day for 23XI Racing. With Reddick, like I said in the previous show, he had a 2-race gap above the cut line, so he can afford a bad race. Bubba Wallace can't. He is now 29 points above the cut line. He is no longer safe. He had about a race gap plus 57, so he could afford an okay day. He did not have an okay day. He had a horrible day. Penultimate, second to last. He's now going to Atlanta, which is a wild card track. Basically, he doesn't have a gap. 29 points, yes, but that's nothing. A lot can change in just 2 stages. In 2 stages, you cannot be looking at only single digits above the cut line. So he by no means is safe. So these next, 9 or so races before we get to the season finale in Daytona are going to be very hectic for the 23 team. Let's shift our focus now to Brad Keselowski finishing in the 9th position. But man, talk about bad luck, mistakes, just overall a frustrating day for the 6th team. That car, top 5, at minimum, at the bare minimum, top 5 potential. But one mistake basically almost derailed their entire plan of having a very solid finish. Keselowski led some laps, showed good pace, but after the Bubba Wallace caution, Keselowski made an unusual decision and decided to pit. Him and Jeremy Bullins decided to pit while pit road was closed. Now, Carson Hocevar and Denny Hamlin, they both said on their in-car radio that they faked Keselowski because they were both leading themselves onto pit road and then turned right at the last minute while Keselowski just kept going on pit road. I don't know if that's what they thought. They thought, oh, everyone else is coming on pit road, or I don't know how that happened, but they came on a pit road when pit road was closed, so they had to start at the tail end of the longest line. They drove the way up towards the front, and they were actually sitting in pretty good position the way the cautions fell and the way strategy fell in their place. They looked as though that they were going to be a team that was going to get ahead of everybody else. And with 35 laps to go, when Chase Briscoe had that 11-second pit stop and all that, Brad Keselowski was out in front, and he was leading. He had some fuel, he had time, but he was going to have to pit. And like I said, with around 2 or 3 laps later, 33, 32 laps ago, is when Shane Van Gisbergen crashes and brings out the caution. That happened at the worst time because that 6 car was going to pit a lap later. Had the caution come out with this when the 6 car was on pit road, they would have been sitting pretty. But because the caution came out before they came on a pit road, they had to go through the whole process again, had to come from the rear once again, and end up settling for 9th place. I mean, it was tough. It was extremely tough situation for Brad Keselowski. One was just a mistake, and the other was simply bad luck. That's racing. One mistake and bad luck. Ultimately, a 9th place finish for the 6 car. Honestly, you would leave frustrated at that considering the type of car they had because, again, at the bare minimum, they had a top 5 car. Another driver that felt like had a real good shot was William Byron. Hendrick Motorsports, surprisingly, very calm, barely heard them at all. Yes, 2 drivers finished in the top 10, Elliott and Larson, Bowman just outside in 11th, but for the most part, you didn't really hear much. You did hear a little bit of Bowman went up, led some laps on a restart, but outside of that, really nothing. William Byron had the best car. He had to start at the back after crashing and qualifying, but drove his way up to the front, had to go back, going back and forth. But they were sitting on a strategy where they were one of the few drivers that pitted, had fresh tires. They were going to get their way up towards the front during that last stint around with 30 or 40 laps, but just could not go anywhere. Had an issue in the tunnel turn, got stacked up, lost a ton of positions, ton of ground, and they just couldn't recover, and they ended up settling for 27th with a car that, again, I felt like was much better. Could have been at the bare minimum at least a top 10 car, but quite an unusual, calm, nothing day for Hendrick Motorsports. As for the race itself, I was very much entertained by that. I thought it was an awesome race. Strategy-wise, I understand there was barely any legit passes for the lead. I'm talking about passes in a green flag run, not on a restart. Those don't count. I don't think there was barely, if any, of that, but strategy-wise, this was a fun race. So many drivers and teams run so many different strategies. Steve Letarte and the Prime team did an incredible job once again of making sure all the fans knew exactly what they were getting, what driver was on what strategy, how they analyzed Briscoe. Trying to hold off Hamlin was very fun. So from a strategic point of view, it was a very fun race. I enjoyed it. I give it maybe 7.5, 8 out of 10. Because it was a very fun race. I wasn't expecting much in terms of on-track competition, but from a strategic side, I knew it was going to be entertaining from that point of view, since Pocono is usually a race all about strategy. So I was entertained. I enjoyed it, but I can understand if other people's ratings aren't so high. But what are your thoughts on this race? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Thanks for watching.